Hello, and welcome to the latest edition of Rockstar Launcher, where we talk about the intersection of business and law and everything in between. My name is Susie Fulton. I am one of the co-founders of a women-owned full-service business law firm. And today I have one of my partners with me, Keiko Ichiye. Keiko is so impressive. I don't even know where to start, but she got her BS in mathematics and philosophy from Rice. She went on to get a master's and a PhD in philosophy as well. And then, as if that was not enough schooling, she went and got her Juris Doctor. So she's an attorney. She's a practicing patent attorney with our law firm. She's absolutely brilliant. A lot of patent attorneys, because they're engineers, they're left brain. Keiko is also right brain and very talented musician. So I want to introduce you to Keiko, and she is going to introduce you to our very special guest today.
Oh, thank you very much, Susie. And thank you for the opportunity for me to talk with my very good friend and bandmate, Scotty Carlin. We're actually in a band together. It is called the ÖLD PHÜKKERZ. And we're giggling because there is an alternative pronunciation here, and we're trying very hard not to use it.
If we slip, we apologize in advance, but it may happen.
So yes, we're in a band together. It's the ÖLD PHÜKKERZ, and we play 70s, 80s, 90s, punk, new wave, and alternative cover songs. And it's a different kind of band in that there are probably a couple hundred members of it. I'd like to introduce to you Scotty Carlin. He is the founder of ÖLD PHÜKKERZ, and I'd like for him to talk to us a little bit about the band.
All right, thank you very much, Keiko. So the concept came together just a few years ago at this old club that no longer exists, RIP, Texas Mist. A few of us sitting around after a show one day, just hanging out like we do, and we were talking about music and bands and cover bands and how there seemed to be, the conversation turned to, there's so many cover bands that do the same thing. It's like, we want to do something, it's like, we should put something together a little different. Maybe we should put like a punk rock cover band together or something like that. But we all knew how busy we were, and we know that all of us wouldn't be able to commit the time necessary to do a full cover band. We're like, why don't we recruit about 10 people and kind of rotate people in and out who are available, who can do this? We're like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And then we started kicking around ideas for names, and we came up with the ÖLD PHÜKKERZ. As Keiko mentioned, there is an alternative pronunciation. But we figured, well, if we spelled it out like you normally spell it out, we might not be able to put on venue names or newspapers or whatever it took to promote and advertise. So we're like, well, we'll just kind of do an alternative spelling. And then our friend Bruce, who was one of the originators of this idea, came up with the idea to use the umlauts on the O and the U, kind of harkening back to the, kind of like the metal bands from the 80s, like the Motley Crue and things like that. And so we're like, yeah, this is great. We're going to hold on to this. And then we tried to get it going for a while. It was a very slow start, and then COVID hit and everything basically stopped. But once we kind of got over that hump, I kind of got the idea to bring this started up again, especially because people were it was late 2021, people were just kind of starting to get out and about again, start doing things. And I was like, this would be a great way to get all these people who haven't been able to do things to kind of come back together. People who have either bands broke up or they've been out of the scene for a while, or people who haven't played like ever, maybe want to try something out. We're like, maybe we should try and revive this. And so I put the word out. I said, hey, I have this idea that me and a few other guys came up with. Would anybody be interested? And within 24 hours, I got over 100 responses from people who were interested. I was like, wow, I did not expect that. I was like, I guess I really struck a chord with people on this. So started putting the idea together. I was like, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll have just whoever wants to play, you pick a few songs that you want to do. You go up there, you do them with some friends or some bandmates or whatever. You go off stage, somebody else will come up, they'll do their songs. So it's kind of not just cover band, but it's got a jam band feel, and it's kind of a little bit of karaoke at the same time, where you sign up, you go on stage, you do your thing, you come off. And it's just taken off ever since. We had our first gig in October of 2021, and we're still going strong almost 4 years later. And it's just been growing by leaps and bounds. There's so many people who are interested. We're always recruiting new people. And I always tell people, it's like, hey, if you need something, you don't have a musical outlet right now, come join us, because it's very non-committal. You can play as few or as many songs as you want. But I always tell people, it's like, you better be careful, because once you join us, you won't leave. We're like the mafia. It's so much fun. You're going to get addicted to it. You're not going to want to leave. And so far, we've had very few people who have actually, left. I mean, some people, they leave because people can have lives. They get busy. They form new bands. They do other things. But for the most part, the core group of people that have been there since day one, a lot of them are still there. And we're always bringing new people into the fold. We have old people. We have young people. We've had people who have had their kids join them on stage. My son has played with me on a few songs here. And it's just been a blast, and we have such a good time doing it. And I just, we're just going to keep going with it as long as everybody's still excited about it. And we just had a show this past Sunday, and once again, it went over really well. Everybody had a fantastic time. Everybody, a lot of different people bring so many new and exciting things to the table, songs that we've never heard before, like in a cover band situation, or even songs that I've never heard before in my life. I'm like, wow, what was that? Who was that band? And, it'll turn me on to a new old band or something like that I never heard of from back in the day. And then, wow, I never knew they existed and they were so good. And just, and there's also people meet and they network, and there have been like 2 or 3 other different bands that have grown out of the connections that we have made just with these people.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
and
we have our own Facebook group
concept, right?
Right, yeah. It's like I said, we have 350 members in our little Facebook group, just people who want to play, who are interested, or just kind of want to see what's going on.
That is crazy. Well, I would definitely want to be a member of the band with the old PHÜKKERZ title. When I saw the email of the name of the band and everything, I laughed so hard because I think my mind went to the other pronunciation that we're trying so hard not to say. But so now I'm going to kind of make a turn here, because I said we were going to talk about business and the intersection of law and blah, blah, blah. So here's our law angle, our law slant, if you will, on this. So I am a technology attorney. I also do lots of trademark filings and whatnot. And until fairly recently, the trademark office would not let you file trademarks that were deemed as derogatory or obscene, right? Mm-hmm. And so that changed. How and what happened? Can you tell us a little bit about that, Keiko?
Oh, certainly. So as Susie mentioned, the alternative pronunciation of Old Phukkers would probably have been rejected prior to 2017 because prior to that, the USPTO, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, would reject names that were like derogatory or offensive or scandalous. So backing up maybe about 2010, there was a band of Asian American musicians. They were led by Simon Tam, and they had a band that they called the Slants. And Slant is a derogatory name for Asian Americans, but Simon Tam, as an Asian American, wanted to reclaim that racial slur, and so he named his band the Slants. And he tried to trademark it, but the USPTO rejected the name as derogatory. But the reasoning that the PTO gave, slant in itself is not, obscene or derogatory. So there were other trademarks that had the name slant in it. And so you can imagine, let's say a hypothetical case would be if there were a band and maybe they were like an 80s new wave band and the members were white and they had asymmetrical haircuts maybe, and they were slanted. If they called themselves a slants that made the US PTO may not have thought that was derogatory because there was no connection with race. And But as Simon Tam pointed out, it's like, oh, wait, so I'm being denied my trademark because I'm Asian American. So that doesn't seem fair. So he fought the battle through the courts, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And in 2017, the Supreme Court allowed the Slants to have their name trademarked. And Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg remarked that basically Simon Tam, an Asian American, wants to reclaim this racial slur. We should let him do that. And there were other cases after that. There was a clothing company called Friends You Can't Trust, and they their clothing had the acronym FUCT. Prior to the Slants case, they weren't able to get a trademark, but the Slants case made it easier for them to get a trademark. And another case involved a Texas band, the Butthole Surfers. Like in the 90s, they tried to get a trademark but were rejected. But then after the Slants case, they tried again and they got their trademark. But which now I kind of think it's kind of quaint that, at that time we thought butthole was obscene. I mean, it's just
like hold my beer. We have the old here. So, okay. I knew that was going to slip at some point. We'll bleep that out. Anyway, so now, bands, and not just bands, but companies are able to obtain trademarks on words that previously would have been deemed too derogatory or obscene. And so this is our legal lesson for the day. For those of you who are thinking of these types of trademarks, might be able to get it now. Okay. So now I want to go back to, did y'all meet through the Facebook page, or how did your relationship begin?
Well, actually, I got to know Keiko through her husband, Jeff, who I officially met through another friend of his named Derek, who had joined the group. I remember one day, Derek specifically saying, "Hey, I want to see if I get my friend Jeff Nanali to join us." And I was like, that name sounds really familiar. I asked him, is that the guy who used to play bass in a band called Sprawl from Houston back in the 80s and early 90s? He's like, yeah, that's him. And I was like, I was kind of starstruck a little bit because I loved that band.
Oh, wow.
I followed that band. I moved to Austin in 1990.
Okay.
So I got to see them in Houston a little bit. But then they started playing around a lot and they'd come to Austin a lot. So every time they came to Austin, I was there seeing Sprawl. And I was like, I can't believe a guy that I used to watch on stage back in the 90s is in a band with me in the 2020s. I was like, how does that work? And that's how I got to know Keiko. And then after we'd been doing this a while, she came up with the idea of trademarking the name. I was like, yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because what if there are other people out there who want to do something similar? We don't want them, stealing our thunder, basically. So I was like, yeah, let's get that trademarked. And if someone wants to use it, okay, you can use it, but hey, pay time.
Right. Yeah.
And also there's...
That's just that's a side hustle. But, for the most part, it's mainly for protecting our brand and our idea. That's the main thrust behind it.
Right.
Yeah, and also we don't want a band to, take the name, and then what if they're like complete jerks?
Right. Yeah.
And then people will think, oh yeah, I know those old Phukkers. They, they're such jerks, and you're like, no, because one of the highlights, I think, of being in the old Phukkers is that it's the band itself. I mean, it's a musical collective. And it is so inclusive and so welcoming and so supportive. So people who are beginning to learn a musical instrument, or they're learning a new musical instrument, or maybe they've never done vocals before, you can try that at an old Phukkers show, which is
you don't have to be like professional level, comfortable on the stage.
Absolutely not. We have anyone who wants to try and do something with us is more than welcome. We like I said, we open it up to everyone. It's like, it doesn't matter your background, your age, or anything.
Don't say that, because if I came and sang, people would go running through the doors.
No, we actually, some of our first couple shows, we had some folks come out, and they were long time musicians, and we had a group that came up there. Their average age was probably about mid-70s, early to mid-70s.
So they fit the name.
And very much so. And they got on stage and they did their stuff and they killed it.
That's
it was
awesome.
Amazing. And I keep trying to reach out to them once in a while. It's like,
come
we
back.
gotta come back and do some more stuff with us. You guys were amazing. They have other things going on too. So I understand things get people get busy and stuff like that.
Now, when you guys go to the collective and play, do you typically play like, what is your collective or your band that you usually play with? Is it Keiko and you and Jeff typically, or what does that look like? Or does it just flow and change every week?
It just flow and changes all the time. Like I said, there's a core group that we usually do quite a few things together. But the main thrust of the idea is, a lot of it too is like, play with people that maybe you're familiar with or people you're not very familiar with.
Okay.
Get together and, on your own, rehearse your stuff, get to know each other on a personal level, get to know each other's musical strengths and weaknesses or whatever you have. And what we do is we create a Google Doc sign-up sheet, basically, where you go in, you have an idea, you want to do a song, okay, great. Write down the song, the band name, and put yourself in the position you want to be in. Whether you want to sing, you want to play bass, drums, whatever. Put your name there and put it out there. And then other people will look at the list and go, oh, I'd like to play that song.
Oh, cool.
Okay, you're singing? Okay, I'll play guitar on it. And then, it just goes down the list like that.
How many hours, when you hold one of these sessions, how many hours does it run for typically?
Usually we try to keep it right around 3 hours.
Okay.
Because I think that's about the limit for pretty much everybody. Because it's a lot of songs, it's loud, people get tired. You have, and of course, you have the people who are, you got the people who work at the venue. They're used to long hours, but you don't want to keep them there all night either. Especially on a Sunday, we want to wrap it up by about 7:30 so that, people aren't out really late on a Sunday, because that doesn't really work for any of us,
You have it sounds like a lot of non-musician audience, right, that just come out to listen to the bands?
Yeah, a lot of people will come out. They will just to see the show. We have a lot of people, since we have so many musicians and singers who show up, people will usually be with them. Recently, the last 2 shows, an old college friend of mine decided she wanted to try it. And I've known her for going over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I want to do a song. I'll do a Blondie song. I'm like, great. And then she was kind of working on stuff on her own. And she asked me one day, I was like, who could you recommend I can do better? I was like, get yourself a vocal coach. And she found one. And she was talking to me about, Shelly, blah. She says she knows you. I'm like, Shelly Knight? She's like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, I've known her for years. We've not been in bands together, but her band and my band have played shows together. And she's just a really great singer-songwriter. She's a really great person. And so her and my friend Angela worked together to get her ready. And she came out, and it was our show back in January. And she came up, of course, she killed it. And she's like, I want to do this again. I'm like, okay, well, I think I have another show booked in April. Tell me what you want to do. And she did 2 songs this time. She did a Runaways and Joan Jett song, and just had so like I said, someone who has really hardly any musical background at all.
Right.
Decided she wanted to sing. She worked to make it happen, and she got up there and she did great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so
that you
we have
create
people,
that.
all levels. And we have people who are mid-level. We have people who are very highly skilled musicians. We have everybody in between, and everybody works together and just makes the songs and the show happen. And everybody's, as Keiko was saying, everybody's super supportive, very inclusive and everything. And that's one thing I really like about and appreciate too, because I have worked hard to try and foster that in this group.
Right.
Because I know a lot of times in music circles, there can be cliques, people can be elitist and things like that. I want to be the opposite of that. Music is supposed to be, for me, it's supposed to be inclusive. It's something that people do together. And that's one of the goals of this thing too, is to, bring people together and do this. And so far it's worked out really well.
That's amazing. I mean, that like you said, that you can get somebody who really hasn't performed before to get them to a point where they're comfortable doing it, and that they work at the skill of getting better, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That
Yeah.
because I think that there's so many places and people that would you feel too uncomfortable to do that, and y'all have created that environment, so it's really amazing.
Get supportive environment to get if people want to get out of their comfort zone, we can do that.
Right.
And I also think as we get older, it's even more important to try and push yourself out and learn new things.
Yep,
to keep your mind fresh and things like that. So it's I think it's been very therapeutic for a lot of people, including myself.
Mm-hmm. You spoke about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and when you sign up to play with different people or whatever, and expanding on that. And what instruments, for Scotty and then Keiko, what instruments do you play, or vocal or whatever? What do you do, and what do you consider your primary strengths or weaknesses in that realm?
I started as a bassist, and I've been doing that for a very long time, and so that's pretty good. I'm strength there. I have toyed with the idea of lead vocals for a while, but I didn't actually start becoming a true lead vocalist until I formed a new band back in 2012, which I still play with currently, called Space Cushion. And I was like, I'd been kind of like the sideman for decades, and when I started this new band to get back into the scene, I was like, okay, this is gonna be my thing. I'm gonna be the singer, I'm gonna be the songwriter, and the bass player.
Wow.
And but the lineup's expanded over the years, so we got a bass player and everything like that, and we got another guy, an old friend of mine, who's playing guitar with us as well. So now we're back to a 2-guitar band. He also does some keyboard stuff, and so I've taken on the lead vocal role. And ever since I've been doing it, I've been working hard to just get better and better and better. And so I've actually become a pretty good singer, I think. So, which I never thought I would in my life.
Did you have a vocal coach as well, or did you just kind of self-teach?
No, I just kind of self-taught. I just, I started listening to some of my old favorite songs, but I tried to listen to them with a little bit of a different ear to really pick up on vocal cues, really pay attention to harmony vocals and things like that. And, just really kind of work for a lot of times in my car during my commute, I will have songs on. I will sing along with the songs as best I can. And I will purposely choose a lot of times singers that I know can be out of my range.
Oh, okay.
To kind of train myself to kind of maybe not match them, but to get close to them. So then when I do sing, it's like, okay, now I've been training myself. My voice is stronger. I can, I got better pitch. I can hold notes longer. It's kind of like when, there's that old story of this Olympics team that was training, and they were using a heavier shot put than they would actually throw.
Right.
So they would train with the really heavy one, and then they get up to do the shot put in the Olympics. So, this is nothing. Whoa, I can toss this one. Or it's like batters in the on-deck circle back in the 70s and 80s. They'd have two bats with the ring around them to practice their swing, and then when you get up to the plate, they just go one bat, and it doesn't feel as heavy. I can really slam this ball.
Okay.
So kind of that same concept, I applied it to trying to get myself to learn how to be a better vocalist.
Quick question before I get to Keiko. You're your own man, but is there a singer where people say, oh, wow, you sound a lot like so-and-so, or is there an influence or somebody that you kind of resemble or sound like?
I would say I do a pretty good impersonation of some snotty punk rockers like John Lydon from the Sex Pistols. And at our January show, I actually really pushed myself out of my comfort zone, and I did a Soundgarden song.
Yeah, and that was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I worked really hard on my Chris Cornell, and I thought I did a fairly good job, and everybody said, that was great. I was like, I guess I did okay.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So, Keiko, how about you? What instruments do you play? What's your strength and weaknesses? What do you like doing?
Well, so I started off with bass, and so I'm definitely most comfortable with bass. But there are a lot of bass players already in the old Phukkers, right? And we do have a bit of a shortage of drummers. So if there are any drummers out there, call us. But so I've started to learn drums, and I've been taking lessons on drums and becoming more comfortable with that. I have tried vocals too. Okay. Yeah.
And you also play ukulele.
Yeah. Right? But we haven't had any ukulele punk
nothing
songs.
I think the closest we've come is that Shipping Up to Boston song.
Oh, yeah.
That's the closest we've come to something like that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But it's the old Phukkers is definitely, it's a good group to to try out a new instrument, try out vocals, because the people there are so supportive, and you do have people who are experienced at whatever
Who can help
instrument.
you,
Yes,
right,
Yeah,
as
who
well.
can help and coach you.
Okay,
and things
this
like
is,
that.
I mean, incredible because both of y'all have done and are doing things that you know, that you're not most comfortable with, like going into vocals and drums and stuff. And I mean, just hearing that, because most bands, even though it's not really a band, more like the collective, but most bands, they bring you on because you're really good at bass, or you're really good at vocals, or you're really good at drums, and that's pretty much all you do. You might do a couple songs where you might feature on something, but that's really what you're hired to do. And there's not really the opportunity to get better at something that you haven't done. And I think that's amazing that you guys have done that with this group, this collective. So congratulations and hats off on that.
Thank you very much.
That's it from us old PHÜKKERZ. I hope you enjoyed this edition, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks a lot.